Hi everyone, Ashley here and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I was inspired by a card that I saw on Instagram, which I'll link down in the description box below, to create this fun pull tab card using the Lawn Fawn You're Just My Type stamp set. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm starting by paper piecing together this table, and this table is a stamp from, like I mentioned, the Lawn Fawn You're Just My Type stamp set. I'm stamping out the table onto a piece of patterned paper from Lawn Fawn. This is their Knock on Wood paper, and it's just a brown wood patterned paper. So I stamped that out in black ink onto that brown paper and then I set it aside. Now I'm stamping out the rest of the images that I want to use on my card in white paper, again with some jet black ink so that they can be colored in with Copic markers. This is a Copic friendly black ink. I just stamped them twice to get a nice crisp image, and then I can clean the stamps off with my stamp chamois. I also filled in a few of the little images. You can add the top line of the typewriter, that's a separate stamp and it has a little smiley face in it, which is really cute. And then miss you like a lot, those sentiments I added to that little piece of paper the mouse is holding. I'm now going to go ahead and color in the images with my Copic markers. I'm not going to color the table because that is the image that I'm planning to paper piece, so that's why I stamped it out on that brown pattern paper before, and you'll see that come together after the coloring is done. I'm going to let the music play here while I finish up the coloring, and I'll be back with you soon. Okay, so now that the coloring is done, it's time to put together that paper-pieced table. So how I'm doing that is I'm first cutting out the image that I had stamped out onto the white paper, and I'm leaving a little border. So I'm just leaving a small border of white around that image. Then I'm taking the piece that I stamped onto the brown paper and I'm cutting it out with my scissors right up against the edge. So I am not leaving any kind of border on this one. I'm just cutting with my scissors right up against that black stamped edge of the image. So once I have the brown piece cut out, I can then take a black marker and just go around all the edges, and this just helps to eliminate any little mistakes you might have made while you were cutting and just make it look really clean and finished. So whenever you're paper piecing or cutting anything right up against the edge like that, I do recommend it. It does look a lot nicer when you just take a marker and go around the edges. You can then glue the brown piece onto the white piece, and what you have is that border exposed from where you left it on the white piece, but the inner part is that nice brown pattern paper, which is really fun. Because it's a wood tone, I thought that it fit really well with that table image. So now I'm going ahead and fussy cutting the rest of the images that I had stamped out and colored. And I'm just using my scissors for this, and for these images I am leaving a little white border around the edge. I do like to do that typically with my stamped images. When you have coordinating dies, they usually do that for you. They do tend to leave a little bit of a white border anyway. So if I ever do just fussy cut images, I like to do that as well to kind of match up with that look. So once the images are all cut out, I can add a little sentiment onto the front of the card. I cut out a card front panel from the Lawn Fawn Really Rainbow paper pack, which is just that fun stripy rainbow colored piece there, and I stamped just a little note to say right in the bottom right corner. I can then go ahead and assemble the pull tab. This pull tab die set is from Waffle, and I'll write it out down below in the description. Basically what I did off camera was die cut using the die, and it creates two thin lines that are vertical. And then you can also die cut out this pull tab piece, which you kind of stick the little pieces from it through those two cutouts, and it allows it to slide up and down the front of the card. What I then did was adhere a small stitched circle as a sort of handle onto that pull tab and cut off the excess. So then when you pull up on the handle, you can pull on that small stitched circle and the whole pull tab will come up. I stamped out the sentiment "pull here" right onto that little handle so that the person who's opening this card knows to pull on the handle. I'm then adhering a couple pieces of double-sided tape onto those two little pulley bits that stick out from those two lines that are cut into the card panel, and that way I can adhere a little white rectangle onto them and allow somewhere for my pull tab element to adhere to. Behind the panel, I'm actually applying a bunch of foam using double-sided tape, and this just gives the whole front panel a little bit of elevation and allows that pull tab to move freely. Just make sure that you don't put foam anywhere too close to where that pull tab will be moving. So now the pull tab mechanism is all assembled, and all I have to do is assemble the rest of the images onto the card. So I'm sort of just playing around with where the images should go and adhering them together with glue and foam. So I'm just adhering the typewriter onto the desk with glue, and then kind of playing around with where I want that little piece of paper to be, where it should be when it's pulled up and when it's pushed down. And once I'm happy with all of the alignment, I can then adhere that little piece of paper with the mouse onto the pulley tab and allow it to be pulled up and down when you pull up on the handle and push it back down. I then wanted to put the typewriter table over top of that piece of paper so it looks like the paper is popping out from within or behind the typewriter. So to do that I used foam squares, and whenever you're using a pull tab, all you have to do is make sure that your foam doesn't interfere with the movement of the pull tab image. So I had to make sure that I wasn't putting foam anywhere where that little mouse and the piece of paper would be sticking down behind the typewriter. So no foam behind the typewriter, because that's where the mouse has to go in the paper. So I was able to put foam sort of on the lower part of the table and allow that part of it to adhere to the card panel. I can then adhere all the rest of my images, again with a combination of foam squares and liquid glue, to arrange them onto the card. Like I mentioned, this card is definitely inspired by a beautiful card I found on Instagram, so definitely go check out that one too. I'll link that down in the description below. So that is the finished card for today. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video and it taught you a little bit about how to make these interactive pull tab die cards. I find these so fun, and I love just doing it over and over where you pull and push back that little image and it looks like the piece of paper is just popping right out of the typewriter and the little mouse is holding onto it, which is so cute. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you want to see more cards that I make, definitely head over to my Instagram account, which is linked down in the description below. And in case you didn't know, I do post videos to my YouTube channel about once a week. So, if not before, I'll see you back here next week. Bye!